In 1959, biologist Pierre Paul Grace noticed that wasps didn't need a manager to build a nest. Instead, they used indirect coordination. One wasp would drop a piece of mud, and that shape of that piece of mud would trigger what the next ant worker would have to do and carry on the task. The work itself provides a signal for the next task. Now this is called Stigmergy. Hope I said that right. In the modern workspace, management is often like a bottleneck. If you design a Stigmergic environment where the workflow, the CRM, and the brand guidelines are so clear that they trigger the next person's actions, you essentially eliminate all those meetings and even micromanagement. Now, that was just basically an example of modern day workspace and what it could look like in the future. And how do you build without a boss? Especially if you're in the early stages. Let's say you're building your own company, your own brand. Essentially, you are your own boss. But it's also, you want to build a company where you don't have to be there all the time for the business to run. You want to make sure that if you're not there in the business is still running, it's still functioning. But from early on, if you stick to the traditional way of doing business and the traditional way of management and how managers work, then you're always going to need to be there constantly to micromanage and to always watch what your team is doing. And that becomes very unhealthy at some points and very toxic. And personally, I don't like it, in my opinion. And that's why when you want to build a company, you want to give as much freedom as you can to your team. And but freedom doesn't mean they do whatever they want and everyone goes crazy and your whole company ends up being a mess. But freedom in the sense of people are able to get creative as possible as they want. They don't feel like someone's constantly on their shoulder watching every single move like Big Brother, you know. And also, they feel like you can trust them enough for them to get the job done and for the company to keep moving forward. And you should be in a position where you no longer have to go into work to make sure the business is running. You've set up infrastructures and systems in place where those things are running all by itself. And that's when you know you've created a business. And I always say this, even to my good friend Mel, I always say this. We don't want to be working in the business. We want to be working on the business. And that's the big difference. When you're working in the business, you're doing the sales, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the admin work, you're doing the backlog, the grant work, everything. So it gives you less time and less focus to worry about the main important part, which is on the business, growing the business, expanding the business, scaling the business. And that's something only you can do. So remember, you at the start, it's always going to be just you, especially if you're just a one-man team, a one-man band at the start. I've always had that experience where at the start, it felt like it's just me. I'm trying to get things done and I'm working on a lot of different things. I'm doing everything at once. I'm doing the web designs, I'm doing the SEO, I'm doing the CRM, I'm doing the sales, I'm doing the networking, I'm doing the admin work, I'm doing the contracts, finances. What happens is that I'm working too much. I'm working this much in my business and this much on my business where it needs to be the other way. And it was only when I started outsourcing, growing my team, where I was able to then focus more on the business and I could trust my team to take care of all the other stuff. But we all knew we were all on the same page and we were all going towards the same destination. And that was the main key thing that I've always kind of shown. And I think that's the key part of being a leader, is to make sure your people know where you want to go, where you want to be. They're there with you along the journey, but it's also, they know that you trust them enough for them to take care of the business, and they trust you enough to make sure that they're well looked after. You've created a safe environment for them, and they're also striving for something really big and they're benefiting from it as well. It's not just you. And that's the kind of company I want to build too in the future. So I've already started it, but I'm not there yet. And I'm hopefully, if you guys are on the same journey as me, or you're just starting, then I hope this kind of video helped, and this analogy really helped. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think the modern day of work looks like in the next 5 years, 10 years time? What would it be like? Are we gonna have AI doing most of the work? So what would people do? Would AI be the managers for some people? Yeah, thank you for watching. I'm Mitak Ahmed. Remember, I'm just a man, don't follow me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.